So I bought this solar generator in between the whole 2019-2020 debacle, realizing I wasn't really prepared for any sort of catastrophe, and I kind of just scrambled and didn't do really any research. Just bought this thing because I needed something. Long story short, this thing is way more money than it's worth. That is the short version. If you want to see the long version of how it performs despite the cost, then go ahead and check this video out. With the Patriot Generator 1800, which this is the one I have, $2,500. I think that's what I paid for it. Probably a little more because I got 2 of these and not just one. Got like some extra accessories. Like it was, I think, broke it up between 6 payments, and it just seemed like it went on forever. I got the last payment credited because right here in this area it was damaged and I complained about it. Plus the cigarette lighter for a $2,500 unit went out. But the fact that it went out after paying all that money, it wasn't terribly high quality. I mean, the OLED screen's fine. It does give you a nice accurate readout in the volts being used and the time it's being charged. The bigger thing that was concerning to me was that just charging like GoPro batteries and basic things and lithium batteries, that drained the actual battery down tremendously, and that was even with solar charging. And it seemed like once it got down to like the charging would just only keep up, even with 2 of those solar panels, it would just kind of keep up and maintain the current level of charge. You wouldn't really be gaining, you would just be plateauing unless you stop charging everything altogether, and then you would start to gain. The other thing though is it did charge pretty fast on the plug-in. It's got a little baggie on this side with the actual charge plug, so if you just want to keep it charged, it charges like very quickly with that from an actual outlet versus the solar, which makes sense, it would do that. It's not terribly heavy, I will give it that. It's not very heavy. It's definitely a lithium power source in there, you can tell. But I mean, back when this thing was made, 50 to 100 amp hour lithium batteries were kind of coming out and being real prevalent. Or I don't even know if it's that. It could be a 30 amp hour battery in there. I have honestly no idea, because all those lithium batteries that I charged kind of depleted it pretty quickly, and I just can't imagine that there's a really high amp hour lithium output there really make it work very well. I mean, it's not worth its weight in gold. This one's also going to be behind the times because the new phones need a USB 3.0. And these are all 2 point whatever, so they'll charge it, but they'll charge it extremely slow. It won't go anywhere very fast. So like the fast chargers, 768 watt hours. I wonder what that converts to amp hours. I should have gave you the amp hours because that would give you a much more accurate version of what size battery it is. There is a conversion, watt hours to amp hours. 64 amp hour, 60 amp hour battery. So we can go on Amazon. You can pick one of those up for extremely cheap. God, that's really cheap. Really? Look at that. With the BMS, upgraded BMS, some rechargeable stuff. Some of these, if you pay a little bit more, you can get Bluetooth. Man, they really drop these prices. That battery, which is the main source of the whole generator, is less than 1/10 the cost of the whole generator. Think about that. If that's just a 60. You go to 100 amp hour, which are 309, 360. It's better. Lifetime's actually a pretty good one. Yeah, even Power Queen's a very good one. I've used this one specifically. I'm a pretty big fan of Power Queen. So there's that. And then you're talking about like USB outlets. These, USB 3.0, what, $16? You can stack 2 of these in here. Oh, as far as like 110 outlets and 120 outlets, it said it had 2 120 outlets. What did it have? Oh, it did say 60 amp hour. There it is. It is on their lithium iron phosphate 60 amp hour. So technically 64, but it's a 60 amp hour battery. So yeah, like $199 out the door for a 60 amp hour battery versus $25.99 for the whole thing. And then we're talking about the charge ports. So take 110 or 120 volt. So that's cool. The 120 would probably deplete that battery very quickly. 60 amp hour. 60 amp hour really isn't that much for high output. Like it will work pretty long, but I mean, you just saw it. The lithium batteries are taking it out. So I really would have liked to see a 100 amp hour battery minimum in this, and I'm talking minimum. 60 amp hours is too small. Even if with constant recurring charge from the solar panel, which is 4 to 10 hours, it's not great. It means that at the best it's going to maintain whatever you're currently charging, and if not, it's going to be like a slow trickle down. So I can imagine this generator just operating like for like a whole week, you know, just a constant power source, unless whatever you have is extremely efficient, like you have a really extremely efficient generator. I know that's one of its big things. And I do think this is really good for it, because in the event of a power outage or anything, it will power your fridge or your deep freezer, and it will keep all your food preserved. It only has 2 of the outlets, so that stinks. I mean, it's not like you can plug a light in there or whatever. Here's the whole thing. During the daytime, you can sustain the battery. That's the best chance you have to sustain the battery, but during the night, it's going to deplete, and then during the day, it just doesn't charge that quick unless you turn it off. So you'd have to go for periods of turning it off. Like, you couldn't be running this thing for 1, 2, 3 days. you would flatline the battery. Once you flatline lithium batteries without a safety shutoff connection, sometimes they permanently damage. You can never get the battery back, and I have done that a few times. The lithium is actually terribly unreliable if you just completely deplete it. The most reliable lithium batteries in today's time have smart BMSs that will, once they know it's getting down to a critical level of depletion, it'll just shut the battery off, and then you have to re-kick the battery by charging it or jump starting it, and then the BMS activates the battery again and saves the battery from permanent critical damage. I guarantee you this thing does not have that, which it should for $24.99. It doesn't though. So this is also not taking into consideration how much the solar panels cost, but if you go to like Harbor Freight, they're a little bit of money. They're not cheap, but 100 watt, 100 watt, 100 watt, 400 watt universal solar connector, so you can convert a bunch of them. They got cords, gas lines. Look, they even got 100 amp hour peak power station, which is what you have here, which 290 watt hour versus 768 watt hour. Yeah, this is a lot smaller, but it's still, that's only $279. They got 2000 peak watt, $899. 2000 watts. Isn't that what the other one was bragging about? Where they're talking about the 2000. That's a 2000. How much is this thing? $3,000 or 2000 watts, right? I'm sure that's what the 2000 was. 2000 watts of power. Over here at Harbor Freight, 2000 watts, $1,000. And you can hook the same solar panels to it all the way up here. Look, this one's 7200 watt hour for only like $600 more than stupid Patriot generator. Not worth it. Panels are like 150 to like $200. Dude, you could totally build your own power station or just buy your own power station that is much more capable. And yeah, dude, like, I don't know, I've seen people rock these orange and black ones, and they have nothing but good things to say with them. This one has 3 outlets, USB-C, even has USB-C, so it's updated. 12 volt, 10 amp, quick charge 3.0. There's your input for the solar. There's your display, which is honestly a better looking display than the stupid Patriot. The Patriot is a ripoff. I think they're taking advantage of people who are like older or just in a big rush like myself. I have no excuse. I'm not old and anti-internet. I'm very tuned to the internet. Obviously, I make content creation, so I just didn't do my research and I got ripped. So you pay for stupidity. So the one thing I do is like help you guys to not make the same mistake.